Hello and welcome to another part of Design Your Own Level tutorial. In the previous videos we started setting up our tables and couches and our levels starting to take shape. So what we are going to do in today's video is just add like some industrial parts to it, which I mean of course these pipes. Now, as you can see, the pipes are fairly easy to create. They're just basic cylinders and then they meet up with the wall over there. They don't necessarily go anywhere. A player seeing this might think that it goes through to the other side of the wall and then carries on at the top. But if you're never going to see the outside area, then that is not required to create. So, with that said, let's just get right into it. Alright, so what you want to do from here is just make that you're sure your image is centered or your world is centered and your 3D cursor by pushing Shift-C. We're going to push Shift A and we're just going to add a cylinder. There we go. And from here you can choose the amount of vertices that you want to add to a cylinder, so it depends on how smooth you want it to be. I think for this one we're going to stick, I think 32 is actually the default, but I have tried it a little bit before, that's why it didn't stick to the default over there. So we're going to use 32 as the default. And then what we want to do is go into edit mode and face select mode, and we're going to delete the top face and the bottom face. There we go. Then when you go into front view, just rotate it by 90 degrees. So when you go back into top view, you'll see that that's what it looks like. Okay. From here, I am quickly just going to create a curve corner for it. Now, if you want to be a bit more complex in Blender or just want to learn a little bit more about Blender, you would probably use Bezier curves. And I could show you here curves, one of these options here. And then you can have a cylinder follow the curve line, and it would be a lot easier for you to create different items or pipes for that matter. But that's not what we're going to do in this current video. We will cover that on a later tutorial. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to select our object here. I'm just going to make a duplicate of it and then holding Control if it will let me. Let's just see, Shift D. Alright, there we go. And I am going to rotate this 90 degrees again. I'm going to drag it off to about, I think it should be something like this. So it should be 1 X unit away from the center and exactly on the Y plane. So then I'm going to go into edit mode, wireframe mode, and I'm just going to select the top vertices. And then you just click the spin tool. And there we go. We got our corner curve already worked out. So you can then just select this part over here and push delete vertices. So now when we create our pipe and we line it up, then we have like a perfect lineup for both sides. So there's our 90-degree curve in our pipe. Perfectly created for us already, so we can just call this pipe curve, and we'll call this pipe line. There we go. And so now you can basically start to see the size of your pipe, and while I said it doesn't really matter, depends on whether or not you're doing something inside of Blender. Because currently this corner on its own is like 3 by 3 by 2 meters. So that's an incredibly large pipe. And this one over here is 2 by 2 by 2 meters. But still, for all purposes, what we'll do is we'll carry on creating now and then we'll scale it later on. So what I'm going to do with this one now is effectively I'm going to scale it 3 times. Or just drag it out 3 times so that it pretty much follows like a pipe length. So it gets to a certain size. And this would basically be the pipe that we're going to reuse quite a number of times inside of the level itself. if we are going to apply a texture to this, using that texture, it might, if we scale this smaller on one of the axes, the texture might start to warp a little bit. It might not look too good, but I think that actually we might get away with it. And that's also why in this section you can see that those parts over there, why they have these like connecting parts to the pipes. It's just to kind of like try and break the repetition, because if you have like a singular pipe that just runs and there's absolutely nothing holding it up, or it's just the same pipe going along, then it kind of breaks the immersion. So from here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to get into some UV unwrapping. So with that said, I'm just going to click split area. I'm going to go into the UV image editor and just drag it off a little bit. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold Alt and right click, and then it will select the entire corner over here, and click Control E, mark a seam. And then I'm going to do the same with this side, Control E, mark a seam. And, oh, well, actually, if we UV unwrap, let's see what that looks like. And it looks terrible, obviously. So what we're going to do now is I want to select one of these lines. So let's just hold Alt and select, Control E, mark a seam, and let's try that again. Right, there we go. It actually did it pretty well. I'm quite impressed with it almost filled the lines completely. So I'm just going to drag this off a little bit, and then I want to scale on the x-axis because I kind of wanna fill it all the way. Let's see actually if we type UVs and pack islands, if it will. Okay, it packed it a little bit differently, and it just misses that top part. So let's try and okay. So essentially what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is filled all the way to the top. Grab on the y-axis, we just drag it up. Let's just see. Okay, so I think we need to do something like this, scale on the y-axis, and that should be pretty close. Almost there, almost there. I think grab y, scale y. The reason why I'm doing it like this, and wow, this is now really starting to mess with me, is because I want to use a seamless texture on this to avoid having to texture a pipe for no reason. Okay, I believe that's close enough. It might have like a little seam line running through it, but we can fix that by actually hiding that particular piece of the line from player's view, whether it be a wall or whether the pipe be pointing above the player, down below, or so we can actually hide that corner over there very well. Okay, so that is that one unwrapped, so I'm quite happy with that one, and now we're just going to get to this one. So essentially we're going to follow exactly the same process. We're going to mark a seam, and actually like so, we're going to mark the two seams and then a line through here. And UV unwrap. Now this is going to be a little bit more difficult because we want to, let's scale this on X by 0. And we're going to scale this on X by 0. I actually want to see if I drag this out. Okay. You see, snapping to grid doesn't quite work here all that well. So let's just judge by eye. I'm going to drag this out. And the reason why I'm doing it with this one is we are essentially going to use exactly the same texture on this one. So to try and make it seamless might work with this one as well. Okay, so I think what I want to do with these So I want to pin these. So holding Alt and right clicking, I'm going to push pin, or you can just click under UVs and pin. And then the same with this side over here and pin. And if we go back over here and UV unwrap, you'll see it's a little bit better. We need to actually try and pin these sides as well, but it's slightly more difficult because you need to line them up manually to get them to pin correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale them on Y0, and then actually I need to select everything except those sides. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna have to select these one by one, holding shift and right clicking, scale on the Y by 0, and then scale X in a little bit. This one. That looks actually kind of okay. Scale X still just a little bit more. I don't want those ones selected. And then grab them on the Y and drag them down so that they kind of line up with our area over here. And then we're going to do the same with these. Scale in, scale Y0, scale X inwards, and then start to grab on the Y axis and drag them inwards. Grab on Y. Okay, and then we're actually going to pin these. I needed to pin these as well, so let's do that. And again, it's UV unwrap. Okay, that looks significantly better. It's not perfect, so if you want to straighten these, you're more than welcome by scaling on the x-axis and then just straighten them out. But for our purposes, they actually should work pretty well now. Let's just do this. Okay. Alright, so that is this corner UV. The only reason why I'm okay with it like bending here in the center is because that's essentially this part over here where it's bending a little bit, and I don't really have much of an issue with it doing that over there. Alright, so we can quickly actually export this to Unreal Engine 4 and just see what it looks like. So I just want to enable smooth shading on both of these. And I'm actually going to select both of them and export them together. So FBX, selected objects, geometries, edge detect, and then remove the leaf bones. And we can just actually call this pipes, FBX. So export, jump over to Unreal, click import, and pipes. Okay, but notice that it did import it as one singular model, and that is unfortunately because of I'm not too happy with the texture. I do believe it should be okay. I think I misjudged that this was the outside and then this was the inside, but that's okay. I do believe once we apply our texture it wouldn't look too bad, so let's just see what it looks like. If we drag this into the world, you can see it's incredibly large, so let's scale this 0.5, 0.05. But once again, with it being a pipe, you can scale this, and you probably will scale it more than once if you wanted to like cover different areas of your level itself. Okay, so even so that doesn't look too bad. So I'm gonna jump back into Blender, maybe just clean up this one later, but for now we're just gonna focus on this one and we're going to actually apply a texture to it. Okay, so what we want to do is we actually need a proper texture for this, a proper color metallic map roughness map and all of those. So we are going to use GIMP a little bit for this particular video. So if you guys don't know what you're looking at, this is the Don't Nod chart for Unreal Engine 4, as it says up there. This is just a reference chart that you use if you want to create PBR-like textures. Now, bear in mind, this is a reference chart, so it depends on what type of look you are going for inside of your game itself. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to open, I think I actually did download a proper texture. Let me just quickly find it. Okay, there we go. This is a texture I downloaded from cgtextures.com or textures.com, and it is a seamless texture, which makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so let's just click open. And I'm going to go to desktop, level design, and there's the texture over there. I will put a link to it in the description below. You can see there it is. So first of all, this texture doesn't have any real shadow information, but we just need it to kind of like match up to an iron color scheme. So to do that, what we're going to do first is just use the color dropper, select it, so you can see your colors over there. We're going to create a new quick image. I'm going to fill it with that color. Going to go over to our histogram. If you don't have the histogram, I believe you can get it here from your Windows dialog. You can see that all the options are over here. And then we just check that its median value is 199. We jump over to this one. This one says 147. So we want to push the levels a little bit. So I'm going to go to colors, levels, and then I think, let's see. So we want it actually to be slightly brighter. Okay, well that's kind of what we're going for. So we can click OK. So there's our albedo texture ready for us to use. Then I'm just going to open another copy of this because I want to create a normal map. So first, how I'm going to do that is I'm going to desaturate it. Well, it's not really required because it's basically a grayscale image already. And I'm going to try and let's just see here quickly. I want to try and push the brightness and contrast. There we go. So you want to push your contrast levels up a little bit. The reason why I'm doing that is I want to create a normal map from this. So if you click under your filters, map, normal map. Now, please note that the normal map plugin is a separate plugin for GIMP itself. I will put a link to it in the description below as well. So you click normal map. And it does tend to crash quite often. Let's hope it doesn't do that now. There we go. I'm just going to go with whatever settings it gave to me as default and click OK. And if we zoom in, alright, that's actually enough detail. If you want to get the normal map to be a little bit deeper, you can always just duplicate the layer and then set it as an overlay. And then every time you duplicate, you'll see that it gets a little bit more intense. So, but for this, I don't think that would be required. If we need any additional detail, we'll focus on it later. Alright, so I'm just going to open one last one. I think this might be the last one. And then I'm going to go over here, and then we're looking at metallic values. Okay, so I think I actually need to open two more because we're looking at metallic and roughness values. So this depends on how shiny you want to make the object. So let's just go over here. And we are going to, this time we're going to need to desaturate it. And I just want to get like a base value here of, I want something along the lines of that, which is probably between 0.4 and 0.5. So I'm going to click on in between that level. I'm going to fill the color again, get my histogram, and I see a value of 112. So that is going to be our roughness map. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my levels, and I'm going to start pushing those levels down. So we're looking for 112. So we're looking for a fairly dark one. Okay, lost my levels tool. There we go. So we're looking for something fairly dark, but you still want to push up your brightness levels. That is if you want certain areas to be more reflective than others. So we're going to bring the whites up, then we're going to bring this down. There we go. And that's going to be our roughness map. And then one last one. I'm just going to open it again. And we're going to go for our metallic map this time. So we want something to be, it must be fairly shiny. So we're going to look at here, I think about a 0.6, between 0.6 and 0.7. So I'm just going to get that color. And this is always a level that we can fool around with a little bit more inside of Unreal Engine 4. So we're looking at 174. So fairly bright. I'm going to select this one again. I'm going to desaturate it. And then I'm going to change my levels. And I think this time you want to drive the white levels fairly high. Okay, without driving the darker levels. So let's go somewhere around here. Was it 174? Okay, let's just do that again. Looking at 174. Alright, there we go. So now we got our albedo map, we got our normal map, our roughness map, and our metallic map. So I'm going to quickly go and save these out. So let's actually do that quickly. We're going to export them. And I'm going to create a new folder for this because this is the first real one where we use multiple textures. And we're going to call this pipe textures. Okay. Nope. There we go. And we're going to export them, sorry. Still as PNG, so we'll call this pipe albedo.png. And then we're just going to export every single one. Stop the video here, and then once it's done, I'll get back to you. Alright, there we go. Everything has been exported, so we're just going to jump over to Blender. And I just want to export this pipe on its own. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to call it pipe line. And then again, just make sure that all these options are still checked. Click export. I'm going to jump over to Unreal Engine 4. I'm going to delete that pipe. And I'm going to click import. And where's the pipeline? Open that one, import, and then jump over to the pipe textures, import all of those. And now we're going to create a new material. Okay, pipe line mat. And I do believe that I should actually start getting some folders set up for the different textures, because now it's starting to get crowded. So I'll probably do that in the next video, but for now we're just going to go with our pipe material. And I'm going to take all of these and then just bring that up and drag them all except that one and drag it in. And hopefully this will actually look pretty good. This is the roughness map. This is going to be our metallic map. This is our normal map, which we might need to invert. So I think I'm quickly going to do that. Just remember to always invert the green channel because it is an OpenGL normal map. Click save. And there we go. That's actually not too bad. We might want to play with the levels on metallic a little bit, but that actually came out pretty well. I don't think you would be able to get something much better so quickly. So let's just click save. And then we are going to test this out on our pipe quickly. So let's just drag our pipe in. This thing does look massive at the current moment. So, and I'm just literally going to drag the material onto that. And there we go. That actually looks pretty good. I'm very happy with that. If we scale this down to about 0.4 and we drag it up to where it's probably going to be, and just do that, and I just want to drag off and then see how that stacks up. Well, that doesn't look okay. That gap, there's like a definite color change between the two of them. I just think that's because of where they are inside of the level. And now that one is darker again, and this one's probably going to be lighter. No, this is just because of where the light captures it. But as you can see, there is like a slight seam over there, which the smaller the pipe is, you probably won't notice it. This is probably because of either the reflection volume that we have here, that we can move around, or the lighting is catching it from a different angle than what it's supposed to. So don't worry too much about that one, but as you can see, they do actually line up pretty well together. And now we're going to just have to redo this process with the other pipe. So I want to see what it looks like if I just directly import this. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to export and pipe, let's say, what did I call this before? I'm just going to call it pipe curve. And essentially, because it has to use the same material, hopefully we might actually get away with the bad UVs on this one for now. So let's just drag one into the world. Again, way too large, but we have to fix that later on. Okay, so let's just drag it over there. I'm going to rotate it this way. There we go. And it's actually supposed to be 0.4 because that's what I made the other pipe. And let's just drag the material straight onto it. Okay, does it line up properly? Okay, no, I don't think I lined it up properly over here. And as you can see, that actually doesn't look that bad. There is a slight seam, but that seam you're going to cover with those connecting parts that we spoke of. So I'm quite happy with this. I didn't believe that the material was going to come out this good. It did actually come out very great. So in the next video, what we are going to do is we're just going to create like the in-between parts. And we might actually scale down, and then I'm also going to get to tidying up this. So if you like what you saw, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.